Hi, everyone. I just wanted to record myself kind of talking about the concepts this week, specifically when it comes to psychosocial factors that influence our academic success. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you, and we're going to talk a little bit about this. I won't spend too much time, but I wanted to explain some of this because sometimes just reviewing the content isn't enough. But what is the definition of psychosocial? Just want to quickly describe it. The psychosocial approach looks at individuals in the context of the combined influence that psychological factors and the surrounding environment have on our physical and mental wellness and their ability to function. So not only our psychological factors, how we feel about ourselves, how we see ourselves, but also the environment that we're surrounded in influence how we can be successful really when it comes to academics. I just wanted to quickly review Erikson's theory of psychosocial development. I'm not sure if y'all have ever heard of this theory before, but basically he has these series of stages that happen as we age. So, and I like this chart too. So like when we're little, thinking about like tiny little babies, the only way little babies, 2-week-old baby can communicate is through crying. And so, think about basic needs, eating, having shelter, warmth. A small baby will cry if they need those things. So if those needs are dependably met, we develop a sense of basic trust. So like, okay, if I cry, my parent is going to feed me. If I, cry, my parent is going to change my diaper, those kind of things. And then we move through stages. So autonomy versus shame and doubt is like the second stage, which is toddlers. Think about like a little 2-year-old learn to exercise their will and do things for themselves. But sometimes they doubt their abilities. Can I do this? But what I like about this theory is it really teaches us that like the environment that we're raised in influences us, our confidence in ourselves, our ability to be confident. Can I climb that tree? Can I comfortably go into school and know that my parents are going to pick me up at the end of the day and they're going to encourage me to be confident in myself in the classroom? And so like if you look at the third stage, preschoolers learn to initiate tasks and carry out plans, or they feel guilty about their efforts to be independent, right? So if you're shamed by a teacher. And so I wanted to address this concept because as people, right, like our family environment, the support we have at home can influence how we feel when we go to school, right? Does our family support our education? Do our parents support us, spending time doing homework? Sometimes I have students who are like, oh, my family doesn't understand that like homework takes hours and hours every night, but they want me to like, do things with them or help the business or whatever. So the family environment that you're raising, the parents you have, the teachers you've had, right? Have you had a teacher that's built your confidence, or have you had a teacher that's made you feel shameful? If you look at like stage 5, identity versus confusion, teenagers work at refining a sense of self by testing roles, and they're integrating them to form a single identity, or they become confused about who they are, right? So part of knowing your identity is, have I had, caregivers and loved ones who've made me feel okay in developing my own sense of who I am? So that's kind of just an overview of that topic. This next topic looks at social emotional learning, but specifically, I wanted to just quickly read this statistic. 75% of the words students use to describe how they feel at school are negative. Students most commonly report they're tired, stressed, and bored. So that's an interesting thing to kind of like think about, but I wanted to really show you this chart. Learning settings. Learning and development are influenced by the familial, so family, community, and society contexts in which students grow. Learning settings that support young people's comprehensive growth often focus on 3 elements. So teaching and practicing social, emotional, and cognitive skills, embedding them into learning, safe relationships. So do you have a family and are you in a community and are you in a society that supported you when it comes to academics? If you haven't, school can be a struggle, right? If your family doesn't support school, doesn't understand college. My best friend, actually my partner in life, their family was like not encouraging school, right? Like, no, like, didn't really understand that college was important. It's like, I'll get a job at a grocery store, you'll be in a union, but they didn't necessarily encourage them to go to school or to value academics. The second one, student experiences, these settings can lead to learning experiences where young people are more likely to be engaged and grasp complex academic content. Engagement ownership. Yeah, this is all really good information to kind of think about. I also wanted to, oh, sorry, let me zoom out a little bit, read these, talk about this information. So self-esteem is how we feel about ourselves. Our self-esteem and how we feel, the regard we have for ourselves can absolutely impact how we feel in the classroom. Do we, look at ourselves in a positive way? That can influence, if we look at ourselves in a positive way, that can totally influence how we are academically. Self-efficacy, the belief in oneself to accomplish a goal. I often meet with students who have a low level of self-efficacy, like, can I really graduate? Can I really become a doctor? I want to become a doctor, but am I capable? And then the third one is self-concept, or the perception of ourselves and our behavior. How do we perceive ourselves, our behavior? I'm a hard worker, I'm not a hard worker, I'm lazy, I'm not motivated, or I am, right? How you view yourself. These are all things to think about. So this week on the assignment, I want you to think about, what is my self-esteem? What is my self-efficacy? Do I have a strong level of self-efficacy or a weak level of self-efficacy? Because that can influence our academic performance. Anxiety and stress are two things that students experience, right? Anxiety and stress, some might have, some might not, but those might play a role individually in your academic success. I have a lot of stress, or I had a lot of stress when I was in college. My mom died when I was in college, and I had to end up like taking on a lot of responsibilities at home with my dad and my brother. And that absolutely impacted my success in school and my performance. Some of it positively, but some of it negatively, right? Did you go through something traumatic while you're in school? That can definitely play a role. Peer relationships. Do you surround yourself with people that are supportive of academics? I was actually recently talking to a football player about this, and he was like, to be honest, I started hanging out with my buddies too much last semester. That's why my grades dropped. And he's like, yeah, I started to surround myself with people that really weren't focused on school. So the people you surround yourselves can influence how you are in school. Perfectionism. Sometimes I've students who want to be so perfect that it'll make them crazy, right? Like, I'm not going to turn it in unless it's my best work. I also wanted to show you the assignment this week. So basically the assignment this week is, I want you in your paper to reflect on these 3 questions. So identify and share psychosocial factors we discussed. So maybe self-esteem, self-concept, or whatever, any of those ones we discussed, and the role they play in your academic success, whether it's positive or negative. But I want you to be honest. The second one, please discuss your family environment and the role it plays in your academic achievement and performance. Do you have a lot of support at home, a lack of support? And how does that influence your role in school? And then do you have a family that has a lot of knowledge of higher education or not very much knowledge? Sometimes if you have parents that have a lack of knowledge, you are trying to teach them how college works. So that's really hard to navigate, right? If your family hasn't been to college and now you're trying to navigate it, that can make it challenging. And the last question is, we discussed these factors, right? Anxiety, stress, peer relations, perfectionism, relationships, people you surround yourself, expressing your emotions, imposter syndrome. So that's the idea of feeling like you don't belong, feeling like you're outside of yourself, right? So for example, sometimes I'm a new mom. So sometimes I feel imposter syndrome. I know I'm her mom, but sometimes I'm like, am I really responsible for this human? I don't really feel like I fit in. I don't feel like a mom. In college, I felt like everybody around me knew what they wanted to do, but I didn't. I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm in this place. I don't really belong here. I don't fit in here. And that really can influence how you do in school if you never really feel like you fit in or have a place where you belong. So those are the 3 questions I want you to respond to in this week's assignment. But I really want you all to start thinking about, okay, what are the factors in my life outside of just me that influence how I'm doing? I think some people don't realize that all these things can play a huge role in our success academically. So thanks for watching. I just wanted to kind of go over this content with you.